Welcome back to Cocktails and Classics. If you listened like a couple weeks ago, we did a Knives Out episode, and it was all just a ploy in preparation for this week as we tackle Glass Onion, the Knives Out mystery, or a Knives Out mystery, the sequel, which just dropped on Netflix, I think 2 days before Christmas.
23rd, that's right.
And it had been in theaters previously. On our old episode, we had talked about it because it was only like a week or two. I think that was in theaters. So, did you watch it in theaters, Cam, or did you watch it at home?
No, I watched it at home.
I didn't know if they re-released it later or anything.
Not yet. I don't think so.
They're gonna wait until about January, 10th, and then re-release all the movies. Back in theaters, just to refresh your mind for the Oscars. Here's our movie.
Yeah, it could be. I did just see a Netflix movie in theater yesterday, but it's not on Netflix yet. So
Is it the Christian Bale one?
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
How'd
that
you
one,
know?
That one looks like some Oscar bait.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that.
I mean, I guess not technically
that movie, but
not technically like Oscar bait, but like it looks like it's trying to go for awards.
Yeah, there's a reason they released it in theaters for a week,
I'm Dylan. Joining me as always are Ben and Cam. And so to kick things off and get everybody in the right mood, we're going to go to this week's cocktail. In the movie, there's a lot of cocktails at play. There's a very pivotal scene where, what is the fucking main character's name? I can't even think of his name right now.
Benoit
Elon
Blanc?
Musk.
Miles
Braun.
Yeah.
Gives everybody their favorite cocktail.
Yeah, he gives everyone like their favorite drink that he remembers from their last little debauchery weekend. And those include, what was it, Cam? Like a whiskey soda.
Yeah.
There's Lagavulin.
Yeah, so we got Bullet Bourbon on the Rocks, whiskey and soda, Lagavulin. I'm saying that wrong, I'm sure.
No, that's
White Russian.
Lagavulin.
And then finally, the Birdie's drink, the Cuban Breeze.
And so we're going to go with the Cuban Breeze because it's a little bit more like actual cocktail than the other ones. Plus, we've done a White Russian before. Cuban Breeze also plays, well, it's a little bit of a spoiler. We'll keep it.
Wow, take that out.
Cut that.
So we're going to do Birdie's Cuban Breeze. It is 1 ounce of vodka, 1 ounce of Amaretto, 3 ounces of pineapple juice. This is the classic, as Ben would like to say. I could see myself drinking a couple of these next to the pool in the summer.
I think, yeah, maybe one. I feel like this just too sweet, maybe.
Screams too sweet.
It screams like more than one, and your stomach's going to hate you.
Well, looking at this recipe here, it gave you like the like nutrition information, and it says 21 grams of sugar in each drink. So it's definitely a little sweet.
It's like half a can of Pepsi.
You could have one Pepsi, Cam, or you could have 2 Cuban Breezes.
Take 4 of both.
Oh, that's a lot.
That's right. That's right. This man has no teeth.
I'm just kidding.
I'd rather take 1 Mountain Dew, please.
Ew.
The quarter.
I love Coke.
The quarter of Mountain Dew.
I do not like Mountain Dew at all.
You're feeling a little tropical. You need, after this long cold front we just had, where most of the U.S. at least was in below freezing temperatures for all of Christmas, and you want to warm yourself up, get a little tropical thoughts going in your head. You can make yourself a Cuban Breeze, and you can check the show notes below. Hit up the Drizzly and Casker links to get yourself some vodka and Amaretto. Let us know what you think. You can check out Glass Onion on Netflix as a recording. We will probably spoil it, just warning you now, so maybe watch it and then come back.
Probably, I think we will.
No, we will. That's the point of the podcast. So Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery is a 2022 Netflix comedy crime drama. Currently sits at a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb. Directed by Ryan Johnson. Written by Ryan Johnson. It stars Daniel Craig, Edward Norton, Kate Hudson, Dave Bautista, Janelle Monáe, Catherine Hahn, Leslie Odom Jr. It also has Ethan Hawke in there for like 2 seconds. Hugh Grant makes an appearance. Natasha Lyonne, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Serena Williams, Hugh Grant. I think I already said
You
him.
said that Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, I had to look after you said that he was in every Ryan Johnson movie last time. I
So
specifically
who
went
is
and
he in
looked,
this
and
movie?
So
he's the
he is
dong,
not. He is not a person. He is the dong on the alarm that plays every
Oh
hour.
my
like every
God.
hour.
That's
Yeah,
that's
Funny.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt's voice.
because when you said that bit, I was like, all right, I have to look because I'm sure they're going to continue this trend. And then when I saw it was the dong, I was like, Jesus, really, really
Well, that was
reaching
like
for
the
that
first
one.
one. He's like the voice of a character off screen. Like, okay, so
The
I
the one
I
for
assumed
me,
he wasn't going to actually be in it, but he was going to be some sort
yeah.
of like weird.
The other one for me was Noah Sagan, who I was like, oh, he's in this one too. He's the not Lakeith Stanfield's character, but he's like the other detective in the first one. I was like,
Okay,
oh, all right. So like LeBlanc's friend's gonna come up at some point. He's never in it, and then I looked back and I was like, who was this guy? He's Daryl, the like random dude who's just chilling on the island the whole time. I was like, oh my god.
okay. See, so my family watched this before I did before Christmas. And I asked them like if Lakeith Stanfield came back, and they're like, no, but the other detective does. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, they're like, but not in the way you think. I'm like, okay, well that seems very aloof, but you're not really telling me anything. Then I'm watching the movie and I'm like, I don't see the other guy coming back. And then yeah, when I looked it up, I was like, oh, son of a bitch, that's what they meant by he comes back, but it's not the same.
Yeah, I think he's another one of those guys that's in like every one of Ryan Johnson's movies. Um,
Just
just as
plays a
like
different part.
yeah, because I mean, he's in Looper, I believe. He's in Brick. He's in The Last Jedi. Because if I'm not mistaken, I mean, he might have went to like film school with uh, Ryan Johnson and like Steve Yedlin. Because I'm pretty sure Steve Yedlin has literally done every one of Ryan Johnson's movies as well. So I'm wondering if like maybe they all went to school together or something.
That could be. Would make sense.
So obviously none of us had seen this film before.
Speak for yourself.
Since it, oh, did you watch it? Cam got the advanced screening.
Joke's on you guys. Ryan Johnson and I are super tight.
So that's where we goofed. You know, we just assumed.
Yeah, that's where you fucked up. You assumed.
None of us had seen this film, and I could talk about it in a little bit more detail, but I definitely was not expecting this movie to be the way it was. I don't know if anyone else I was expecting basically Knives Out again, in a sense. Like I was like, oh, like it's gonna be kind of like just another detective story, like something murder's already happened, and he's just gonna show up and try and solve it again, and we're gonna do it in a kind of different way, like locked room murder type thing, you know. And what I got was not that.
No.
Not saying that's bad. Like I was just kind of expecting one thing and got something a lot different.
Yeah, I think two things to his credit. The first is that I think he successfully made a mystery story that is very similar to like Agatha Christie's stuff, you know, where it's like just murder mystery stuff. You know, they're not really connected other than the main detective, and the storytelling and style is all very different, which I think is really cool. And the second is that he didn't want to put Knives Out in the title at all. He actually just wanted it to be called Glass Onion, but I think the studio executives wanted it to be clear that it was like in the same lineage as Knives Out with the same detective to get more people to watch it. So I think it's fair to consider them like very different movies, and you don't have to watch Knives Out to really get anything from this movie. There's only a handful of like references to Knives Out in this movie that we can probably talk about, but not really anything substantial.
Yeah, like my wife had never seen it, watched this film, and like understood what was going on. And there's
Right.
nothing really. There's
And
no
it's
drawback.
I mean, there's like I said, there's a couple Easter eggs that you can like, oh, I know what that reference, I know what it's referencing, but it doesn't detract from the experience at all. Like, it's literally like, I wouldn't even like, I have a hard time saying it's even a sequel because it is not a sequel. Like it's just the same detective. That's it. That's all it is.
That would have been interesting to me. I don't know how you would market the. Well, I guess the Agatha Christie movies have kind of done that.
Not yes and no. I feel like you kind of like. I mean, I don't think it's clear that they're like, unless you know Agatha Christie's like work or know like a little bit behind it. Like if you're watching like Death on the Nile, you may not know that it's the same actor that was in the previous movie that I'm forgetting now. Train. Right? Death on the
Murder on the
Train or
Orient.
something. Yeah.
Murder on the Orient.
Death on the
Express.
Train. Murder on the Orient Express. Yeah. So like you probably wouldn't know that.
I didn't. I think I saw the trailer, and then once like Perot shows up, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like in the trailers, I haven't seen the Death on the Nile yet, but just
I haven't
watching
seen
it,
that one either.
I was like, oh wait a second.
Yeah, I like the fact that you don't have to know.
Yeah.
Even though, like, I saw Murder on the Orient Express pretty, like, soon after it came to streaming. I can't remember what streaming service it first came to. I do like when they do stuff like this that you don't have to have seen the other stuff, because it's kind of nice to have a jumping in point whenever. And then you can be like, oh, okay, I know who this character is. I can go watch this other movie and know X, Y, and Z thing. There's some times where things are somewhat important linear wise, like some things you might see in a later movie that might change the view of things in earlier movies. But I think for the most part, when you can watch a movie and understand what's going on, and then you can be like, oh, I can go back and watch whichever. Kind of like James Bond, right? Outside of like this most recent Daniel Craig set, most of them you could kind of watch. It's a self-sustained thing. There might be a reference to a previous one, and then you really kind of have a jumping in point for wherever. I mean, wherever you kind of jumped in at, now you can go back and see everything and catch up to wherever you want to catch up to.
Yeah, it's nice. Like yes, the character is like carries over, but honestly, you learn more, I think, in this movie about Benoit Blanc than you do in the first one at all. Like,
for sure.
You learn that like he has a partner, I guess. I think that's assumed.
Yeah.
And then like you see him at home a little bit more, which like the first one you literally just know, oh, he's like a hard-boiled detective and questionably Southern. So like where his accent leans.
He's a foghorn leghorn type of Southern guy.
Yeah, but like other than that, like you really don't know anything about Blanc, and in this movie you learn a little bit more about him. So it's like that's probably the only thing that really carries over. And like Cam said, the two things. But like I think it'd be interesting. Hannah and I have yet to watch the first one, but I'll be interested to see her opinion going from like the sequel to the first one versus the like correct order, I guess. To see like, oh, does this affect your opinion one way or the other? Did you like one more than the other?
Again, I got to give him credit that like I think it's at least a discussion of which movie is better so far. I think that they're just so different enough that I think it really just comes down to personal preference and whether you like the locked room mystery in the first one or whether you like the more complex grand mystery of the second one. I think it really just comes down to preference.
Well, I think the big thing is that while they're on the island for the weekend,
the murder happens.
A character dies. The character dying sets off a bunch of other series of events that leads to the flashback. Then there's a whole flashback sequence, which is like not a short flashback. I was
No,
Oh, it's
not
like a
expecting the
solid
flashback
hour.
to be like an hour long. Like that caught me off guard. I was like, oh, we're going into
Well,
the
it's
flashback, and then we
yeah.
had to pause. So we paused the movie, and I'm like, there's still an hour and like 10 minutes left of this. Like, how much of a flashback are we doing here? A
Yeah,
lot.
it's like a full hour. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily bad, but it does take a long time to get to where we are. Well, and I think it also goes back to the title and like the onion symbology, right? As if is we keep just peeling back more layers and it keeps getting more complex, like because basically until we get to like the around the halfway mark of the movie where like something's going to happen, somebody's gonna die for real, and that does happen, but that's not the primary mystery. It turns out that the primary mystery is a death that has already happened, and her sister wants to investigate her death, and so she goes and poses as her sister on this retreat uh, to basically figure out who among them murdered her sister. And so with all that context, we're basically brought up to the present time where it looks like uh,
the
Janelle
sister.
Monáe's character
Yeah.
gets shot and murdered, but not actually. Um, and so, we're able to get back to that point in time. And then it plays out. Basically, it's, whoever killed the person on the island also killed Janelle Monáe's sister, although she's playing herself because it's a twin. But gets back to that original mystery. And so, and then of course, because it's a glass onion, it's staring at you in the face. Like you peel back all these layers and it's what you saw from the start, which is, just the most obvious conclusion that is possible, which is that, the main billionaire guy stole this business from this woman and made it his own only, and she had evidence to basically expose him as a fraud, and then he killed her. And then Batista saw him do it, and he killed him, and then he tried to kill Janelle Monáe's, the sister character again, because he knew that she was fraud. And the thing I like too about all of this is that just like the first movie, everything you need to know, like, gets everything you need to know happens and gets kind of told to you throughout the movie, but you don't realize the significance of it until you're done. Earlier in the beginning, which we can kind of talk about this. I don't know how obvious it was, but at least to me, I noticed it where Batista's character dies, and before that, he sits down. They both sit down, him and the billionaire, and the billionaire hands him his drink that he just poured for himself, and Batista starts drinking it. So later on, when Miles is like, "Oh my God, that was supposed to be me that died. I put my drink down on the glass or on the table, and he took it and drank it." I was like, "No, no, no, that is not. Hold on, that is not what I saw happen at all. What the fuck? What the hell is that?" Which is kind of a cool like misdirection in real time, and if you like caught that, it kind of makes you feel like, "Oh, huh, something fishy's going on here."
I wonder if that's on purpose in this one, because you know how we talked about it the last couple times where it's, you want to be able to find those little Easter eggs and
Yeah.
hints, and you'll know who did it. But I wonder if that one's on purpose, so it's like, oh, clearly, obviously, you could notice this guy's taking the glass, but that's not the big mystery that we're looking at here. It wasn't the death of Dave Bautista's character. It was, and we later find out, the death of Andy.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just like, it's a little, not necessarily misdirection, because it's clearly obvious. You're like, yeah, it's this
That's
guy.
how it
He
happened.
fucking did it. Like.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting, because as long as you don't like go back to replay it, it's kind of like the film is gaslighting you into believing something, because like he doesn't like say that, right? Like he says that, but it shows a flashback to when that happened, but it was a false flashback. Like it shows it shows him physically picking up the glass from the table, which is not what happened, but they like clearly shot that and put it in the movie to like kind of like gaslight you into thinking that's what happened, because that's what that's what Miles is trying to do in that case to everybody else around the room, and everybody falls for it. Everybody's like, "Yep, that's what totally happened." But I think as a viewer, it's supposed to be. I mean, I think again, it goes back to the glass onion, right? Like it's like the solution's kind of staring us at the face the whole time, and the more we peel back, the more it's the same thing.
Little unrelated trivia note here, but I guess Ryan Johnson had previously considered Benoit Blanc talking in a different accent for every
Oh my
film.
god!
Every movie. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, that's absolutely insane.
That might have been awful though, because I feel like that would have like it made his character almost untrustworthy in a sense. I feel like.
I think it would have just made things like extremely difficult to follow for any audience.
Yeah, that would have been too confusing, I think.
Just like, oh yeah, hey, remember this character? Like, yeah, it's the same guy, but also kind of not the same guy.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, and everything comes back like yeah, I mean I'm glad they didn't do that thing cuz yeah, I don't think that I feel like that would have been too confusing. But yeah, so like other stuff that happens in the movie that like ends up coming back, is like so basically at the end, Benoit figures it out and is like, this is so stupid. I can't believe that the like he feels like almost it's funny because like it is a satisfying conclusion to us, but it does feel like to him it's just so stupid. Like it's just such a dumb mystery because at multiple points in the movie, he's like, it could be this, but that would be so stupid. Like at one point he was like, well, the most obvious person that has the motive to kill your sister is Miles, but he wouldn't do it himself. That would be dumb. So he probably had some of these other people do it for him, and it's like, and even with the gun, he even said, he was like, oh, you put the gun on the table and turned out the lights. And that's exactly what he did to try and kill, uh, Janelle's character. And he's like, you even stole that from me. It's like, you stole that from me? Are you serious? And so it's just funny because, I mean, it basically comes down to the fact that like Miles is actually a dumb person and just rips his ideas off of people and pays other people to do the work for him, essentially. Like he doesn't make the puzzles. He doesn't design anything. He stole his idea from his business. He makes up words on the fly. Like he does all this stuff that's like, educated, smart people don't do any of that. Like maybe some of that, but like not, that's not the point.
I will say, just as impressive cast as the first one. The ensemble cast of both movies is quite impressive. I'll be interested to see if they go with a third one, which I assume they will, since this is probably a moneymaker.
So I will say that was the one. I know this is like a tangent, but I watched through the entire thing waiting to see like a Benoit Blanc will return type thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it, and I was kind of disappointed that I didn't.
I mean, the first one, I don't think he said that, and they did. So yeah, it's probably just one of those like, as long as somebody's willing to pay him to make the movie, he probably will.
Yeah,
which they should. I think. I mean, both are fantastic. So
Netflix holds the rights to at least one more film, and then in September of 2022, Johnson confirmed his intention to make more. Later that month, Craig and Johnson both separately stated that they will continue making additional films in the series so long as they're both involved together. And then in November, Johnson said that he was already preparing on writing the third one. So
nice.
I was gonna say that, like, we have this this great ensemble cast, and like, I kind of, I mean, that's obviously the point of the movie, is that these characters are annoying, but like, damn, some of these characters are so annoying in this movie.
Yeah.
Especially, like, they're also just, like, eccentric assholes, most of them, or, like, higher up in society. Like, fucking Birdie, Kate Hudson's character, is so obnoxious. I just can't.
Yeah, she sucks. When she shows up in the mesh mask. Like,
oh, my
God. Are you fucking kidding? Come on. God damn it. Like it's just so on brand for her character, and she's like, "Oh, you're not supposed to tweet that anti-Semitic stuff or whatever."
Oh yeah.
And if it comes out that she had like, God, what was it? It was like she had a sweatshop. Oh, that was right. She had a sweatshop in Bangladesh or something, and she thought a sweatshop was a place
Where
where
they made
They
made
made
sweatpants.
sweats.
sweatpants.
Yeah, yeah.
God damn it.
Um, but like, I don't. I feel like everyone fit their character very well too. Like they were casted very well.
Yeah.
Like Dave Bautista being the men's right Twitch streamer,
The red
like
pilled guy, yeah.
yeah, selling rhino boner pills. Alex Jones, basically. Like,
It's no, hold on. Let's get that straight. Dave Bautista is who Alex Jones thinks he is.
all right, true. Um, but like, I feel like him playing that character was great. Kate Hudson as Birdie was a great
Oh, yeah.
casting. Catherine Hahn as like the mother turned congresswoman.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, she's a governor right now.
or yeah,
Governor of Maryland or something.
yeah.
What was it? Maryland or like Minnesota? I feel like it was like
Connecticut.
Minnesota. Oh,
It was a northeastern.
for some reason I thought it was like a
state.
Midwesty.
Yeah, it was Connecticut. She did.
'Cause
She
she
does.
talks about.
She does kind of
like-
give Gretchen Whitmer vibes, but
Well, hopefully not, because
well, yeah, it's
there's
not.
some other bad stuff in there.
Hopefully not as
Uh,
corrupt, but
Yeah, because like it. Yeah, she plays it so well, and like it's funny because yeah, she's like, you have people from all different like walks of life coming together under this dude's thumb, which is cool to see. Just how far reaching some of this corruption goes. You have the men's rights activists. You have the I guess model turned like entrepreneur, you have the scientist, you have
the school
oh,
teacher turned scientist. Yeah,
yeah, you have I guess probably or the liberal quote governor, and then the business partner of his, well, former business partner.
yeah. But even like he was he had like a news corporation that they were launching the whatever the hydrogen, the solid hydrogen into like space with his company.
Yeah,
Like there were like so many facets of his like reach that
Yeah.
I mean, obviously scary because it happens in real life.
Well, right, and the stupidity comes back to bite him in the ass. Like he's so stupid, but also like have you guys seen that the Dunning Kruger effect?
no,
Hold on, let me make sure I quote it correctly.
I was going to say it
um,
was like somebody paying $44 billion for Twitter, and then
So the
Yeah.
Dunning-Kruger effect is basically so this is the definition on here. It's when a person's lack of knowledge and skills in a certain area causes them to overestimate their own competence. So basically they know so little about the thing that they think they know everything. And that's what this character screams. Is he like goes on this fad about this stupid little crystal thing that ends up being really dangerous when you burn it and creates methane and it explodes his house, and
Wasn't
ultimately
it like
causes
solid
him to
oxygen, like straight
I think it was hydrogen.
or hydrogen.
Yeah, solid hydrogen.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean basically, yeah, I don't know exactly what the chemical was. Silent hydrogen or whatever, but yeah, I mean they were talking like with the scientist, he was talking about, oh, it creates this gas, and the governor's like, I've been pushing for that, and that's going to be bad. It's basically going to turn every home into the Hindenburg. Yeah, I mean, his own stupidity comes back to bite him because he went on, and they even have it in like one line too, where he's like, yeah, he just picked this fad off of somewhere. Like he was like staying on some retreat and like got picked up, like basically someone sold him this snake oil,
yeah, that
and
was
he just
pretty
decided to
much.
throw all
was
his money
doing-
behind it.
He was doing ayahuasca with Aaron Rodgers. And I know, Cameron, you had mentioned this earlier about like which one did you like better, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like for me, I think the first one fits more of what I was expecting, and more like I like more of the whodunit locked room type mysteries. I think this one's really good. I think people need to watch it and support like original ideas.
Yes.
Because it's like it's not the same movie, which I think is also a benefit to this one. Like they didn't just rehash me Knives Out 1 and be like, here's Knives Out 2, same, but different. Like
Right.
there's definitely like similarities. There's like the suicide that was covered up. There's like, you know, all these little things, but it's like, oh, like it's a completely different movie. The lineage is different, or like the linear storytelling is completely different with the flashbacks and all this. I think it's definitely worth a watch, and I, I don't know. I think if you're interested in like more of a like mystery as it's happening type thing, I think this one would satisfy you.
I think they're both quite good. I mean, yeah, I it's hard. I kind of go back and forth on which one I like better. I'm curious to watch this one after like maybe a year or so after I haven't watched it to see how I like it the second time around. But I mean, so far I think I like this one a little better. But again, it's like just they're both like I would rate them probably about the same. Like they're both just so good. Like I said, I think when they do movies like this, and like you said, very original ideas, it's cool to see it done well and such where it's like one is not, in my opinion, one is not clearly better than the other. Like I think whichever one you like is going to be down to like preference on which type of story you like, and I think that's the mark of like a good, a good show or a good movie series or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's just preference, like it's not objectively better, which some are, right? Like some things, some pieces of media are objectively better than other pieces of media in the same line of work. And so it's cool to see that him hit it out of the park twice.
The thing I'm kind of interested to see in the next one would be, are we going to get more Benoit Blanc? Because I feel like the first one was definitely not a Benoit Blanc movie. He was in it,
Yeah.
and like it's definitely more about oh god, I can't even remember that character's name. The girl, Anna
Yeah.
De Armas's character. Um,
What's her name?
I definitely think that this one leans heavily into Helen um, as like the sidekick, or also like the investigator with Benoit. So I wonder like if we'll get like just a pure Benoit movie ever.
Yeah, I mean, I think this might be as close as you're gonna get. It was very heavily Benoit.
Yeah, for 2/3 or a third of it, I feel
Yeah,
like.
at least half. And I think that is probably the biggest divergence from Knives Out. Is like you said, Knives Out is primarily Anna De Armas's character throughout, and she's like the main character. And in this one, I guess I would pick Benoit as the main character with Janelle Monáe as a side as the second main character.
I think it's really interesting because of the way the movie's split up, right?
Yeah,
Like it feels like throughout the first part of it, it's about Benoit and solving this kind of mystery and what's going on. Um, and then in the second half, it really kind of switches to Janelle Monáe's character and her whole ordeal, and kind of similarly to Knives Out in a sense, where Chris Evans' character in Knives Out almost feels like one of, if not like the second biggest character. In this movie, I feel like Edward Norton's character feels like the one of the bigger or biggest character. Like obviously, them both being the main antagonists, that checks out. But like, it feels like it follows them almost as much as it follows, or they, I guess, play a bigger part than Benoit does to the movie.
yeah.
Which is, it's interesting because I feel like the whole movie Benoit's heralded as this like amazing detective, and he's like cracking all these cases, but then I feel like he really leans on other people. I mean, like he figures it out. Like I mean, Knives Out 1, he figures out like, oh, he sees the blood on her shoe and all this, but like I feel like without other people's like help or interference, I feel like sometimes he wouldn't get it.
I mean, I think he pulls it all together, which is I think what he's good at. It's so funny because like, and something we haven't talked about is they go to the island for a murder mystery, and you think again, like you think like the movie's gonna be about that murder mystery and he's gonna like die or something, and then they sit down at the dinner first night, and Benoit Blanc's like, "This is everything in the mystery."
So
I already solved it.
What does the
What do I
winner
win?
get? What does the winner get? I don't know. Well, I just figured there'd be something. You want an iPad? I can give you an iPad Pro. Okay. And when does the game start? The game starts now. Okay. She did it. This is how. Walks through the entire thing.
Yeah.
And then they walk upstairs and he throws the iPad.
Yeah. Which in the moment does not, like, you think he's just being like quirky, you know? Like, you think at the moment you think he's just being like, oh, I can solve this, blah, blah, blah. But then, you know, it's like, oh, he did that on purpose so that he could investigate what he really wants to know.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where they go with a third. Like, I'm just curious to know what the plan is to do there. I feel like you could kind of go... And again, it's so interesting because I feel like what Rian Johnson does a really good job of is pulling inspiration from, like, things like Agatha Christie and other, like, famous detective novels and ideas, but, like, not just recreating them. I don't know enough of those authors' works to know, like, what other, I guess, like, idea for story he could pull from. But I'm very interested to see where that goes and how that turns out.
None of us had seen this film, so you're going to get 3 fresh ratings for Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Cam, let us know what you thought.
Yeah, so I really like the first one, really like this one. I don't remember what I gave the first one for rating. I'd probably give it a similar rating. I said I don't remember at the top of my head, but so I'm gonna give it a 9. This movie is very good. One of my favorite movies. It's probably my second favorite movie that's come out this year. The first, although, well, I forgot that the Batman also came out this year. No, I'm gonna say it. This is my second favorite movie this year. Everything Everywhere All at Once is number 1, and number 3 is the Batman. And this is the best. I think this is the best one that second best movie I've watched this year. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that. I think I like this one maybe a little bit more than Everything Everywhere, just because it's like more of a personal. I just prefer the mystery type movies. So like whodunits, and the fact that whodunits and murder mysteries and that are becoming like, I feel like it's going to be the next big, especially the success that not only Knives Out had, but the Hercule Poirot movies have had. Like the way that that's going, I feel like that's going to be the next kind of trendy thing, kind of circling back. So who knows? Maybe in another like 20, 30 years, we're going to be loving Western movies again. That's going to be where we just ride it out. Dylan aggressively
Don't want that
shaking
one to come back.
Westerns?
No.
Yeah.
I think we get a lot of iterations of Westerns. Like, I think some of Star Wars can be seen as a space Western, you know?
Oh, I mean, it definitely is. I mean, that's what, like, do you ever seen Cowboy Bebop? That's like a space Western.
No,
I've never
I just
seen
think,
it,
like,
but I know what
But
you're talking
I
about.
would say, like, I feel like Knives Out is, like, a classic, like, mystery detective movie.
Yeah.
In the sense of, like, it's extremely pure to, like, what I would say the source is. I feel like we won't get that of like a Western. Hopefully, I don't know. I'm not a big Western fan, but like I feel like also like the old West doesn't really exist that much. It'd have to be like something Yellowstone inspired, basically of like I don't know. Most of the U.S. I feel like at this point is well.
Yeah, it's
like,
hard to
lived
do it
in.
without it being way too many like period-esque. Although that's how it was back in like the 60s and people loved it. But I digress. The fact that this is like where things are going is very exciting. I'm very happy to see that. And as someone who loves comic books, namely like a comic book character who might be known for being a detective, like I'm thrilled to see hopefully some inspiration in that go through to lend itself more to, I'll say it, Batman movies as well. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I would give this one, man, I'm really torn between a 9 and a 10. I think I'm gonna leave it at a 9. It might change based on a rewatch in a while. I feel like a lot of the times with mystery movies, what'll really up it is like how Cam said he noticed the glass switch like when he's handed the glass. Being able to rewatch it and pick up on some of those like smaller things that you kind of missed the first time around, which again Ryan Johnson did really well with Knives Out, so I'm expecting that he'll do it really well again in this movie. But if it holds up that well rewatching, then yeah, this one might go up to a 10 for me. But for right now, I'm gonna leave it at a 9. Highly recommend it. If you haven't seen the first one and you want to watch this one, do it. Check it out, and then go back and watch it. Watch Knives Out, and kind of go from there. Excited to see maybe Joseph Gordon-Levitt actually play a part in the next one.
I feel like he would be good as like the villain, and
I feel like he would have done the role Edward Norton played. Like I feel like he would have done that really well.
maybe Ryan Johnson's just trying to avoid stereotypes. He's like, I can't cast Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it as as the main character, please. I will say I enjoyed this one. I don't think I liked it as much as the first one. I think I'm just kind of reiterating things I've already said there, but I do think this one is really good. I love the ensemble cast. The cinematography is amazing. I saw Steve Yedlin posted about how they shot when the lights cut out and the setup that they had to create to like get the light to like splash over people and come out like in a lighthouse effect.
Yeah.
Um, which is very interesting to think about because he described the way that if you used an actual lighthouse light, the edges would be very soft, but he wanted very harsh, defined edges to the lights. So basically, what they ended up rigging was a like dome around a stationary light, and then cut a hole in the dome, put it on a power pulley system, coded it to where it would do it every like a repeatable time every X amount of seconds, and like just the thought process that goes into like something which in the movie seems as simple or as like you know easy as like oh it's just like a lighthouse light. Like the attention to detail and the love for the craft really shows in the cinematography. um, I'm gonna give this one a 7.5 out of 10. It's good. um, I just kind of wish it was a little more mystery to me. I don't know. Like it definitely feels like they leaned a lot heavier into like the comedy in this one. Um, and it was more about like the characters, less about the mystery to me. But it's just my opinion.
That's just
Uh,
like your opinion, man.
I know. Well, check out Glass Onion on Netflix. Let us know what you think at Cocktails and Classics Pod. Hit up the Drizzly and Casker links below. Make yourself a Cuban breeze and get yourself some vodka and amaretto at the Drizzly and Casker links. Um, check us out next time. Like, subscribe, smash that MF like button, leave a review, and as always, watch responsibly.